James and Aisha sat hand in hand as they boarded their flight, their wedding rings glistening under the cabin lights. Their love felt unbreakable, the joy of their union still fresh in their hearts. The plane hummed as it taxied down the runway, the promise of the Maldives waiting beyond the clouds. Excitement bubbled in Aisha's chest. This was their dream honeymoon, a celebration of their forever. James leaned in, whispering, "This is just the beginning, my love." But fate had other plans. A sudden commotion stirred the quiet hum of the flight, turning heads and silencing whispers. An old man near the front of the plane slumped forward, his frail body lifeless. A doctor rushed to his side, but it was too late, his spirit had already left. Aisha gripped James's arm as the reality of death settled over the cabin like a heavy fog. The flight attendants whispered among themselves, their faces grim. They had to move the body, and the only available seat was beside Aisha. James protested, his voice tight with unease, but the attendants had no other choice. The old man, now covered with a thin white blanket, was gently placed in the empty seat beside Aisha. The chill of his presence sent shivers through her, and she turned to James, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I can't do this," she whispered, her breath shaky. James squeezed her hand, his warmth the only thing keeping her grounded. Outside, the plane cut through the darkness, while inside, death sat between them, silent and unmoving. Hours passed, the hum of the engines now an eerie lullaby. A sudden jolt of turbulence made the old man's arm slip from under the blanket, brushing against Aisha's skin. A choked gasp escaped her lips as tears spilled freely down her cheeks. James quickly covered the arm again, whispering soothing words, but nothing could erase the reality of their eerie companion. Aisha thought of her own aging father, of time slipping away faster than she had ever realized. This was supposed to be a journey of love, but instead, it had become a lesson in how fragile life truly was. When the plane landed, Aisha let out a shaky breath, relieved to step onto solid ground. The warmth of the Maldivian sun kissed her skin, but it could not melt away the shadow that had settled over her heart. That night, in their villa, James pulled her close, his lips pressing against her forehead. "Let's promise never to take a single moment for granted," he murmured. She nodded, gripping him tighter, afraid to let go. Death had sat beside them once, she prayed it wouldn't return. The morning light filtered through the villa's sheer curtains, painting the ocean in strokes of gold. Aisha stretched, feeling the empty space beside her, expecting James to be up before her. But the room was too quiet. A creeping dread filled her chest as she turned, shaking him gently, then frantically. His body was still. Cold. Just like the old man on the plane. Death had been beside them all along, and now, it had chosen again. Aisha's screams shattered the morning calm. She shook James desperately, her hands trembling as she pressed her ear against his chest. No heartbeat. No breath. Nothing. Tears streamed down her face as she stumbled back, gasping for air. How? How could this be happening? Just last night, he was warm, alive, whispering his love into her ear. Now, he lay still, his face peaceful, just like the old man on the plane. A horrible realization struck her. Death hadn't just followed them, it had chosen them. The paramedics arrived, their voices a distant murmur as Aisha sat motionless, watching them confirm what she already knew. James was gone. Her husband, her forever, had been stolen from her before their life together had even begun. The same hands that held her last night were now cold, lifeless. The same lips that promised her eternity would never speak again. She had walked off that plane, thinking she had left death behind. Instead, it had followed her into paradise. Her honeymoon had become a funeral. Life is fragile. We plan for forever, but tomorrow is never promised. This story is a heartbreaking reminder to cherish every moment with those we love. Because in the end, love is the only thing that truly matters. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and share. And if you haven't yet, subscribe for more powerful African folktales and real-life tragedies that leave us speechless. See you in the next one.